Hi there, it's Sandra, and you are listening to the podcast A Duchess Like Us. Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of A Duchess Like Us, a podcast that reports positively and fairly on Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Today, I'm joined by Nelly and Gayle, my co-hosts for this episode. So, ladies, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yes. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. I'm Gayle, known as Breakthrough Diva on Twitter, and I'm here to contribute, support, and really fly the flag for the Sussexes because, to be honest, they're my kind of people. So looking forward to today.
Good.
And I'm Nelly, and today I am drinking tea, green tea to be exact.
So am I.
Why not?
So am I. Green tea. It's so cold.
It really is. Jesus. Oh my God.
We can't do cold here in England.
No.
It's too cold for us. It's quite pitiful, really. Anyhow. Hello, everybody. We have had some very interesting few days where Meghan and Harry are concerned. On Thursday, the 18th of November, 2021, Meghan's interview with Ellen DeGeneres was broadcast in the UK. And in the US. And in the UK, I saw it on YouTube via some short segment clips. But from what I saw, I liked what I saw. So it was pretty good. And then on Monday, the 22nd of November, the BBC broadcast the first of a three-part documentary series called Princes and the Press, which gave us an interesting or intriguing insight into the relationship between Princes Harry and William and the UK press. So today, in this episode of the podcast, we're going to go over these events in more detail. And we're going to start, first of all, with Meghan's interview with Ellen Degeneres. So, as I said before, on Thursday, the 18th of November, the Ellen Show released their episode that had an interview with Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. In that interview, Meghan did a skit where she had to do and say everything that Ellen told her through a microphone in their ear, with studio people, people outside the studio who didn't know what was going on. I actually quite liked it, but there you go. Some people didn't. I thought it was all right.
That's funny.
Then there was, then there was the studio portion of the interview where Meghan talked about her life and how she grew up with her parents and how what she learned then feeds into her work ethic today. She revealed how she spent Halloween with Harry and the kids, and that the fact that her kids just weren't into it. I'm not surprised. They're only 2 and a few months old.
5 months,
yeah, they don't give 2 hoots what's happening, you know what I mean? And then it also was revealed that by Ellen and Meghan, that Ellen and her wife, Portia de Rossi, were also at Meghan's place to enjoy Halloween, which I thought was very interesting. They also, Meghan and Harry's foundation, Archwell, also made a donation. I'm not sure if it's $20,000 or $25,000.
It's 20.
To a lady,
20.
20, thank you. To a lady hairdresser who founded a charity that plaits or braids children's hair for parents who can't afford to go to a hairdresser to get it done. So I thought it was lovely, and how it feeds back into the community, which I thought was wonderful. So all in all, I thought it was a lovely interview and I really enjoyed it. And you could basically see how happy Meghan was being back home in the US and being around people who supported her. The only downside to this interview was, of course, the UK media. They basically lost their minds as usual and had to trash everything about the interview. But you know what? I didn't even pay attention to it because I know what they're like. But you know what really got me? They were so mad because this is the interview that they wanted. They wanted to have Meghan at their, in their studios talking to her. They wanted to see the kids. They wanted to know what's going on. they wanted access. And they shot themselves in the foot.
Well,
So,
there are so many layers, though, aren't there, to this story?
Yes.
There are
Gail.
so many layers to this story. So first and foremost, before we even get into the press side of it, Meghan looks gorgeous. And, you know, when I saw her in the photos, you know what came to mind? Do you remember the young boy at the school when he met Meghan? He goes, she's really beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what came to mind because, oh my goodness, if ever there was an advert for, you know, getting rid of toxic people and removing yourself from toxic situations, that was it. Right? Because my girl looked amazing, but she didn't just look good because, let's be honest, we have another Duchess who every now and again she does look good, but Meghan, you can see she felt good from the inside. My lady was absolutely glowing. She was 100% present. You know, she was fully comfortable in her skin, and that really showed through more than anything else. Forget what she was wearing. Yeah, she looked great. You know, her skin and her makeup beautiful, but you could that glow was something you can't manufacture that. And I think it's that more than anything else that really. I'm trying so hard not to say because I leave the swearing to Nelly on this program.
Yeah, don't swear too early because YouTube will stop us.
But I think that's the thing that really pees them off. You know, she's happy, and you know what makes me laugh as well is when we see all the coverage. I mean, there was one bit of coverage because remember this also came off the back of the week before when we saw her and Harry out at the Veterans Gala, looking gorgeous, and this interview peed them off so much that I even saw a headline where it was accusing Meghan of being demanding. It was accusing Meghan of being demanding because her name was featured before Harry's at the Intrepid Awards.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Oh, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. It really is ridiculous. And it's really ridiculous. And the thing is, is that yes, she looks great, and she was on there. And I think what peed them off even more is that she never mentioned them once.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
She never mentioned them once. She didn't even, not even a passing reference. My girl just came there. She delivered. You know, had a great time and went about her business.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely fantastic. And she was just, as you said, she was serene, she was funny. It was nice to see her so happy, you know, and it was just, I just really enjoyed it, you know, and I'm glad she did it. And I'm, you know, fuck them, excuse my language, but you know, but I keep going back to this point. This is what the press in the UK wanted. They wanted that. They wanted to have her on the, you know, Lorraine wanted to have her on the sofa talking to her and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, love, it's a dream for you. It's never going to happen. So get over yourself, stop being bitter and twisted and move on. Yeah. You've got your little favourite Duchess. Go and speak to her. You know?
The funny thing is you're never going to get a Kate doing a Lorraine interview. Or anything like that. The only interview you'll get her doing is something incredibly scripted. I think I did see her being interviewed by, I think it was Louise Minchin, and it was something to do with some childhood thing. One of her early childhood program things. I don't know what it was, but it was just so scripted and just came off so unnatural. But anyways, forget about that one. No, back to the Ellen interview. What I loved, the thing is, if you followed Meghan throughout her career, she has done interviews. You know what she's all about, and you know she's funny, she's adorkable, she's you know, that skit, that segment where she had to do everything that Ellen told her to do or say.
I loved it.
You know, that was that was so funny. It was so dorky as well, which was adorable.
But it's classic Meghan, isn't it? Like,
yes.
like you say, anyone that knew Meghan before the royal family, that's it's classic Meghan.
Yeah.
She's a dork. That's why her and Harry connect, because they're both dorky together. They like doing funny, silly things.
Yeah, they watch Disney films at their big age. Come on.
Right.
Well, I watch Disney films.
So I
watch Disney films.
I'm a
I don't
big
care.
Disney
No
lover,
shame.
I've got to say, no shame in that game. I can tell you now.
I went to Euro Disney once, and I didn't want to go because I didn't have a child, so I borrowed my brother's. I said, "Can I borrow her for the weekend?"
Well,
we had so much fun.
Exactly. So I've done practically all of the Disneys. I've done Euro, Disney World, Disneyland, right? And all of them I went to as an adult. Right?
Yes, exactly. And to this day, she talks about, remember we went to Euro Disney? I was like, yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Sort of
yeah.
We're now looking for another child to take with us again to go back. It's ridiculous. So I had said I don't have no qualms about watching Disney. They're great, but that said, the whole interview was just brilliant, and I keep going back to, she was so happy.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't like an interview where they're trying to, it's like a gotcha. It was just, what are you doing? How are you doing things? How's it going?
How you feeling? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was do you know what? It was pure. And it's been such a long time since we've seen or heard any pure coverage of Meghan. It's been 5 years, that it was just so refreshing to know this is a normal person. She's a human being. She's a woman who is just, all she wants to do is love on her family, and make her little slice of the world as in her way as best as possible. And I'm sorry, but anybody who is down on her for that, you need to really check yourself. In preparation for this podcast this morning, I thought I'd, take one for the team and go onto the fail site and just check the headlines.
Lord.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, someone's got to do it. Yeah,
I know.
Someone's got to do it. Yeah. So I thought I'd just go on and just check the headlines, see what's out there today. And thankfully, there wasn't that much about Meghan, to be fair. But what there was is that there is this real growing right-wing trend for really demonizing anybody who wants to make the world a better place, anybody that wants to educate the world. We've got the head teacher of the American school that's just, had to resign because she wanted to bring critical race theory, to teach children about critical race theory, and the parents have revolted against it, and there's just this thing about, they're really anti-woke. So I just wanted to clarify for our listeners exactly what woke is. Woke is about being against injustice and inequality. And if you've got a problem with that, you really need to check yourself. Because any one of us, regardless of race or gender or sexuality, any one of us, economic status, anything, any one of us can be the subject of that same kind of smear campaign. Anyone.
Exactly.
So when it's you or your loved ones, what is it going to be woke in inverted commas then? The very thing that Meghan and Harry are supporting and fighting for is basically for every single one of us is going to benefit in some way or another. It's for our greater good.
Yeah.
So I
agree. And I want to come back to the talking about the critical race theory. Like the US and in the UK, with critical race theory is not taught in the curriculum in the UK or in the US. It is an undergraduate, it's not even undergraduate, it's a postgraduate course at university that people take. And it's not about bashing white people. It's about telling the truth. It's about telling the truth about what has happened to Black people when they were, enslaved and brought to the West, basically brought to, to the UK, to the Caribbean, to the US, wherever they were dispersed around the world. It's talking about the truth, and it's talking about what happened to Black people through time for the last 400 years, and how especially in the US, but also here, let's not get twisted about this.
Let's just say the West in general.
We have been, Black people have been discriminated against, being put to the bottom of the pile, being basically have one arm and one foot tied behind their back so they can't progress. That's the truth. I'm sorry if you don't like hearing it, but that's the truth. And why people are kicking up now, I don't know, because we're not saying that you did it to us. We're saying this is what happened in history. And you need to look at it from that point of view, how we've been held back as a race for 400 years. So when people say, well, they should pull themselves up by the bootstraps, we ain't got no boots.
Thank you, much less bootstraps. Yeah. And the thing is,
we ain't got no boots, man.
But the thing is, this is not. I wish we could say, this is what happened to us 400 years ago, or but this is what's happening to us now. It's happening now. We've only got to look at the figures over in the States of, I don't even get me started on the shootings and whatnot that goes on over there, and just the general way in which, the subconscious ways in which they try to, keep Black people in their place.
Yes.
And it's the same here. And
it's exactly the same here.
I think it's worse here. I've lived in America, and I actually think it's worse here. Because where you stand in America. They've got no problem telling you that they don't like you because you're Black, but they'll still work with you. Because at the end of the day, capitalism really speaks in America. Here, they will twist and turn and smile in your face while that knife is in your back, and you're there trying to figure out where the knife is, because it surely can't be the person that's smiling so beautifully in front of you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's very undercover, and and I think Boris Johnson, I think anyone that knows me that even remotely pays attention to me on Twitter will know that Boris. I am no fan of Boris, local MP or not. Right, I'm no fan of Boris, but I tell you what Boris has done. Boris has exposed, him and his government have literally ripped the plaster off that racism source, and now we can all see it oozing in all its glory around the country.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't.
And they've got a complicit. I keep saying it. We have a complicit media. We have a right-wing media, and basically an alt-right media who is propping that party and that man up. Yeah. And it's actually, we can all see it, but we don't have the power to knock it down. And our opposition.
But not only that, you say that, Sandra, but also, we can all see it. But by nature, British people, by nature, our very nature and our culture, is just go along with the status quo. We're not rebellious by nature.
We are not the French.
until it's too late. Then there's going to be a tipping point where it's going to kick off. I don't know what it's going to be, but something's going to happen. It's going to be something trivial, but it's going to kick off. And it's just really, I don't know, it's quite pathetic. But going back to what's that? That's that thing in America they call it's like positive discrimination. I don't know what it's called.
Affirmative action.
Thank you. That's what it is. Do you know who the beneficiaries of affirmative action are? Thank you. White women were the main beneficiaries of affirmative action.
Do you know
these so-called conservatives who say, Black people, they got this and got that, and they get pushed for the jobs? No, it fucking ain't. It's white women who are benefiting from it.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely. When we do work within the EDI space, I mean, looking at parity, gender parity, and we're looking at discrimination, the diversity, including. When we're looking at all this stuff, and we're trying to find the numbers for Black women that appear on boards, or Black women that have benefited from various, initiatives, you can't find them.
Exactly.
Because what they're measuring is women. So they're measuring the number of women on the boards, which are normally white women.
Exactly.
Around the whole gender parity thing, it's white women. We don't even coming to the statistics, I'm glad to see now that there are some bodies that are starting to measure this stuff so that, you know, we've got something tangible to present to these so-called leaders, because Black women are so marginalized, and you wouldn't think so, because if you follow the media, they'll say things, oh yeah, but you got that woman Sharon who's in charge of John Lewis, you know, what, one black woman in the whole of the UK.
Yeah. And look when
what?
she got put in charge of John Lewis during the biggest recession in history. So when it all goes pear-shaped, who they're going to blame?
Exactly.
Yeah, that Black woman. Yeah, sorry.
But no, you're absolutely right. But just bringing it back to our girl Meg for a moment.
Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to say with the whole Ellen thing and the fallout from the press, because as I said before, there's so many layers, is that you're right. The press it's the interview the press they wish they could have had. They know they would never have it, because Harry and Meghan set out their stall very early and let them know straight, we're not interacting with you. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're just not, we're not doing you. But it was the inference yet again that she was doing something unroyal. I'm sorry, have these people forgotten about It's a Knockout in the flipping 80s, right, where they dressed up, right?
Like fools.
They dressed court jesters. They absolutely were. They were court jesters on flipping It's a Knockout, right? And at the time, it's all relative, because at the time, you had senior royals taking place. Sarah Ferguson was in there. Edward
Princess Anne
was a princess. And these were people who, if you transpose the 1980, when that happened, you transpose that to today, that's the equivalent of Will, Kate, Harry even, you know, that's the equivalent of, you know, what's her name? Sophie. Isn't that terrible? No one remembers that poor woman's name, right? But it's the equivalent of that lot doing what the others did back in the 80s. So I'm all for, look, we are moving into what I call the human-to-human economy. This is where people want to do business with people. They want to feel that connection. And Meghan's showing her human side that she has always done. This is not new for Meghan. She's been doing this since day dot. The royal family and the media, as we know, tried to strangle her. Right? Literally, they tried to mute her. And she's just come back to her true self. And she's not doing anything that they have not previously done. Nothing at all. And it's so beautiful to see not just her do it, but it was so lovely to see, certainly on social media, that there was a real groundswell. So despite what the press was saying, there was a real groundswell of people, non-squaddies, because, you know, what I'm seeing now is either Sussex squad is just growing beyond, you know, exponentially, or people are just waking up and, you know, seeing, you know, they're starting to smell the coffee. They're starting to see what's really going on. And there was a real groundswell of people remembering, oh, hold on, the royal said It's a Knockout. What's wrong? I thought she was lovely. You know, it's nice to see the human side.
Yeah.
You mark my words, within the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see that other household, that other palace doing something that, you know, that's going to show their human side, and the press are going to love it.
But don't you remember when I think it was like a Royal Variety performance, and it was Miranda Hart asked William to do the her galloping, her ridiculous galloping thing, and he got up and did it. You know,
yes, he did.
He looks ridiculous, of course, because of that head, but he did it. He did it, you know, and people thought it was hilarious at the time. You know, I thought it was funny, because he just looks ridiculous. But you know, good on him for being a good sport in doing that. But for these same people that were saying that, oh, what a good sport he is, are sniping at Meghan. The other thing I want to just, you know, have a laugh at is these people thought that Meghan was going to do some hard-nosed interview. Ellen is a freaking comedian. She is someone you go to, you know, have a nice natter with. And as you say, it was a conversation between friends and neighbors, because her and Ellen go way back, as they said in the show. Ellen was the one that suggested that Meghan get her puppy, was it Guy or both? I can't remember, one of her puppies, and she adopted the puppy, and yeah, so they do know of each other, and Meghan, Ellen has been very vocal in her support of Meghan when Meghan was having a shit time with the royals, with the whole private jets thing and what have you. And yeah, so this was a chat between friends, and for a section of the British press to think that it was going to be some hard news interview. Well, shut up, go away. You knew it was never going to be the case.
It's because they don't have any access. They have no idea what's going on. There are no more leaks. And this is what's another thing that's burning them as well. As I just said, there's no access at all. Yeah, and they don't know how to cope with it. And they can't make money unless they can relate it to Meghan or Harry or be in their business. So whenever you see an article in the paper about the other two or any other royal family, you can bet your last penny that there will be a mention of Meghan and Harry in there.
Yeah.
No matter what. And there'll be some mention of them.
Yeah.
Because and they'll use
their
that
bread and butter.
Exactly. And they will use them as their headline, even though it has nothing to do with Meghan and Harry. They will be in there somewhere.
Yeah, like that stupid article about Adele being interviewed by Oprah. It wasn't an article, but her opinion piece, and them slating Janet Street reporter slating Adele for having an interview with Oprah, and basically slating her for being successful and launching her new music to the world, but not doing it in Britain. Well, not doing it in Britain first. So obviously she later had that audience, and we saw the reaction of one 10-chinned prick of not being invited to that. But yeah, it is remarkable. But in that very same headline is that Adele has become a singing musical tragedy like Meghan, a singing musical tragedy a la Meghan Markle. I'm like, what does Meghan have to do with this? She's got nothing to do with it.
The only thing they have in common is they both live in the US now because isn't it?
Yeah, and we're interviewed by Oprah.
And we're interviewed by Oprah and are reportedly friends. But I think, look, the public are getting more and more wise to this game, right? They are definitely getting hip to the game. And people like Janet Street Porter and Amanda Platel, who I know we're going to mention later on, and even the same Rachel Johnson, right?
That fool, yeah.
And oh God, do I have to say her name?
No,
that evil one,
no.
Right? Yeah. Sarah Vile. Or her, Sarah Vile. People are getting hip to their game. These are, I hate to say it, but because I'm a middle-aged woman myself, but these women are coming across as bitter, middle-aged. The glory days are behind them, and all they've got to look forward to now is what they can cobble together through heaping this vitriolic hate on someone who couldn't care less about them. And I really hate to see that, because that is, it's just such a waste of time, space and energy. It really is. These are beautiful years of our lives, let me tell you. These are beautiful years, and there's so much that can come out of this rather than to waste it spouting that kind of venom.
But I've said it before and I'll say it again. They have decided, because they can't have it, that she is not worthy to be there. This is what it's all about. And it's all it is just, as you said, bitter, vile jealousy. That's all it is. And, what's that saying? If you haven't got something good to say about somebody, just be quiet.
Just be quiet.
Shutting up is free.
Let me tell you, do you know the amount of times I've started a tweet on Twitter and said, you know what, Gayle, that's not necessary, and pressed the delete button.
Yeah.
You press the delete button. I think that's not necessary.
You just have to sometimes.
Yeah,
you have to you just have to self-filter and go, you know what, if I drop that incendiary bomb, it's going to come back and harm me somehow. It's best to just keep rolling, you know. But these ones, they're just bitter and jealous, and they just haven't got access, and it's killing them. You know, that's what it is. It's just killing them. And Meghan and Harry have now moved on to the US, where they're much happier. You know, they're doing their thing. They've got their business going. They're doing what they want to do. And the royal family was stupid for stopping them from doing it here, because please don't tell me it's not the royal thing to do. When Charles has got a business, Princess Anne's got a business, Sophie and her husband had a business, they fucked that up. Do you know what I mean? Prince Michael of Ken has got a business.
His wife's got a business. Even a business. Sarah, you know, bless her, the big toe of the family. You know, even Sarah's got a little business there.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's about how narratives are set. And I hope this is a good segue into our second and important topic, which is the BBC documentary about the princes and the press. Because I think it's important. I'm glad we talked about Meghan and the interview first, but I think these two dovetail nicely, because now we're going to talk about how the press and how they work in the UK. So we had this documentary dropped by the BBC on the 22nd of November on a Monday evening. And it was the first episode of a documentary series called The Princes and the Press. And in it, Amol Rajan looked into the relationship between the royals, but in particular the relationship between Harry and William, and the royal rota, correspondence, you name it, here in the UK. Now, before I go on, I just want to talk about Amol Rajan a bit more. He is the BBC media editor and has been since December 2016. He's also a presenter on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4. So for people who don't know, the Today programme in the UK is a well-established radio programme where all the big guns, the political big guns, and the current affairs people will regularly go on and be interviewed by that program in the UK. So it's not like it's no little two-bit rubbish program. It's like the program you want to go on in radio here in the UK. So anyhow, the first episode was broadcast on Monday evening, as I said, and it was broadcast on BBC One, which is the BBC's flagship channel. Now, I wasn't going to watch it because I thought, or I knew that it was going to be a hit job on Harry and Meghan. It was just instinctive.
Hold on a moment, Han. It was actually on BBC Two.
Sorry, BBC Two. It's still on their flagships. It's their the big two they have on there. Thank you. So Nelly messaged us and said, "Oh, it's on. Maybe you should have a look at it." And I was like, "Nah, I can't bother. I'm not into it." But on Tuesday, when I was at work, coming home from work, I was just scrolling on my phone, and it came up with The Guardian. And the article came up with that. I'm paraphrasing. Basically, Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and Clarence House had lost their minds, and they had issued a joint statement, basically going after the BBC in this program. So I was like, "Well, what's going on?" sort of thing. So anyway, in their joint statement, Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and Clarence House claimed that the program had made, in quotes, overblown and unfounded claims, end quote, and that it was, quote, disappointing, end quote, that the BBC gave credibility to such claims. The BBC countered, saying that the program was, in quotes, about how royal journalism is done and features a range of journalists from broadcast and the newspaper industry, close quotes. So with that, I thought, I have to see what's going on now, because this has really piqued my interest. So I logged into iPlayer and I watched it. Well, I'm glad I did, because it was very interesting. It was also intriguing, because in this program, it basically interviewed most of the royal rota, whether they were broadcasters or in print journalism. But what I loved about this interview was it started with the clip from Harry from the Oprah interview, where he said there was this symbiotic relationship between the press and the royal family, where the royal family basically said to the press, "We'll give you access, but you have to give us good press in return for that good access." And Harry basically said they're trapped by it. because basically the press has got it over them. If they've got any dirt on them, they will broadcast it. They don't care. They will broadcast it because it sells papers or sells programs or whatever it is. In order to counter it, the royal family have to give them access, even if they don't want to. So for me, what was interesting about it was that basically it shows how William and Harry are dealing with this situation. But the situation is that William has capitulated. He gives them whatever they want. But Harry hasn't. Harry basically said, no, I'm not playing by your rules. I want to change them. And now we're seeing, as a result of this, the narrative is that Harry is the bad boy and his wife is Mrs. is the worst of the worst. And whatever they do is bad. And they're just self-seeking attention seekers and rah, 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 rah. They're not. But the other one, the bald one and his cloak hanger of a wife, are suddenly the most wonderful prince and princesses there ever been, even though before Meghan arrived, they were saying that they were work shy and they didn't do any work. And she was known as the Duchess of Doolittle, and things like that. So, ladies, what do you think about this first episode in this series of 3? And do you think it will carry on having this neutral tone, or do you think it will become a Harry and Meghan hit job?
Can I go first?
Go
yeah,
ahead.
Of course
now.
you can.
Yeah. So I rewatched it yesterday, and I rewatched it in light of the article that one Amanda Plattel, who was one of the contributors in that program, a columnist who has been a vociferous critic of Harry and Meghan. Well, Meghan in particular, because she's a woman, she hates women, and she said that she was duped into doing this program, and was shocked that it turned out to be a hagiography and so pro Meghan. And I was like, okay, I need to rewatch this. And I went back to that, and I mean, it was so neutral. It was so neutral.
Yes,
They were not Rajan was very careful in not necessarily pointing to point fingers at the palace. The only person that probably did that was Peter Hunt, another one of the contributors, who's a former former royal correspondent. Don't ask me for which. I think it was for the BBC he worked for. I'm not entirely sure, but he has been from day dot saying that a lot of this is coming from inside the palace. A lot of the negativity has been coming from inside the palace, and it was given the blessing for that to happen from its principal, who is William. He's the only allegedly Prince William, but he's the only one that's been on that. But it was a fair. I would say that was mainly a fairly neutral program. But everyone is saying, everyone that for the most part who's contributed and who are very critical of the Sussexes are saying that it's so pro Meghan and Harry. It's just come out and say with your chest that you wanted it to be so anti them, and obviously the palace wanted it to be so anti Harry and Meghan. Because the reason why, the other thing that before this documentary had happened was that the royal family wanted to see the documentary before, so that they allegedly could make some timely edits, like they did with an ITV documentary that was done about the two princes as well. Was it last year or earlier in the year? I can't remember. But they made edits to that to make Harry look bad. And go ahead.
No, finish your point, sweetheart.
Yeah. But no, I thought. But I'll just say that I thought it was fair. Do I think that it's going to be continue in this neutral tone? Absolutely not, because what it's going to go into is into Sussexes of Harry and Meghan leaving, and then into the Oprah interview, where of course there's going to be a lot of shit throwing about how, but by the same people saying, well, these are all the lies that she told in the interview and all of that, which are not lies. We know that now they're not lies. I'm not too confident about the next episode. But one thing that I find interesting was that Jenny Affia, who was Meghan's attorney in the her lawsuit against Associated Newspapers, was there, which that was interesting. But now that's all I've got to say.
Well, I agree with a large majority of your points, actually, Nelly. But what I will say as well, in addition to that, is that this documentary was filmed, some reporters that contributed were filmed as much as this time last year, so up to
November
about a year ago,
2020.
and then there were some that were filmed at the beginning of 2021. And as we know, the narrative has changed, or a lot has happened since then. So, and typically what happens in these programs, the BBC makes it, well, any TV production makes a program, and then it's subject to various edits, and then it's shown. So sometimes during that editing period, new information will come to light. So it'd be quite interesting, because they did include the bit from the Oprah interview where where they talked about the invisible contract. So now it will be interesting to see, because one of the pertinent points of the interview that Amal made was he had Richard Jobson, and let's keep it respectful, let's give them their names for the purpose of this. So we had Richard Jobson. We had Richard Jobson on one hand saying one version of Tiara Gate, and we had Dan Wootton on the other hand giving his version of Tiara Gate. We now know, how many months later, that neither of those versions are true. And what I liked is that Amal did actually make reference. He said, how do we know which one to believe? Do we have two different references here? So which one is the truth? And now we realise, now we know. And for anyone that's listening that still, because we do get hate listeners that still wants to believe that Meghan is a liar and that she basically held the Queen, hostage over a flipping tiara, just go and check the court documents. The very same, emails that Jason Knopf, who is William's right-hand man, he released them. Those very same emails, we now know that Tiara Gate did not happen, that the Queen and Meghan basically had tea over the tiara, right? And there were definitely no tears at all, right? None. So in that vein, I'm hoping that they do bring some of the more up-to-date information into this documentary as it moves ahead. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know, because we've seen this shift in narrative already. Meghan and Harry have got a lot of positive press over the last couple of months. And when I say positive press, as in, you'd have to be a real bitter whining ninny to not support the fact that their trip to New York was great. Their global citizen activity was great. The in the, what's it called, the Integrity Awards. What was it called? The Intrepid Awards were great. Meghan's appearance on Ellen was great. The fact that they donated money to Melba's Harlem restaurant. These are things that you've got to be a really sour person to find, negativity in these things. So they've had a really good, positive time recently. And now that this Prince and the Princes and the press program has come out, it's not that episode was not bashing them. In fact, as Nelly said, and as you said, Sandra, it was a very fair. He made no aspersions on either side. He didn't support the royal family. He didn't support Meghan. And everyone's saying, "Oh, it's pro Meghan and Harry." How?
It wasn't.
Because because it wasn't bashing them,
Yeah.
And this other thing about, oh, well, she was all right for her. She was able to have her mouthpiece, Omid Scobie, on there. Read the court documents. Meghan couldn't care less about Omid. Right?
Yes,
Read,
Yeah.
exactly.
read the court documents. They're there, they are in the public domain, and they're put in the public domain so that the public can see, what's going on. They're not just put there because it's somewhere to put them. They're put there to inform and educate the public. So use them. Don't be a
Mm.
sheep and just spouting off, popular narratives. And people, like my last point here on Amanda Platel, Richard Jobson as well. He was very. He went on a program. He went on Sunrise, Australia Sunrise breakfast TV the following morning, and
Yeah.
he himself. Now, this man is no supporter of Meghan. He is Charles's right hand man. He's Charles's mouthpiece in the media, and he said it straight. Of course, there's been leaking, mostly from Kensington Palace. Now, what do you think the changing narrative is there now? People are
Yep.
saying, oh, well, Meghan and Harry were at Kensington Palace at the time. No, they weren't.
They weren't.
Meghan and
They moved
Harry,
out.
they had moved out, right? They had moved out. And remember, they were only at Kensington Palace for a short time because they were actually in the Cotswolds and someone revealed their location.
Yep.
Right,
And remember, we've also got to remember that Meghan and Harry, before they left, had their own household. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
So they weren't part of Kensington Palace. They had their own household because allegedly they didn't trust what was going on in Kensington Palace.
Yep.
So I agree with you 100% there. For me personally, I think that, as I said before, it laid out the facts. It was journalism. It didn't say, I believe this person or this person. It just laid out the facts and said, you need to think about this for yourself. And what I found was, I don't know why the Raw Rota are suddenly, oh, they tricked me. They said the quiet bits out loud.
Yeah.
It was, well, they didn't, Harry wouldn't let her, wouldn't let her be introduced to us. We couldn't have tea with her. Well, why should you?
Yeah, why would you? But not only that, have you noticed how since that program, little tidbits of information are coming out in the press exposing the royal family? People are starting to question because, look, let's make no mistake. Yes, the royal family, yes, the media have been the royal family's mouthpiece. There was money in really twisting the knife in Meghan, right? And that's what they did for the past 5 years. They've done that. However, the tide is swelling, apart from the Daily Mail, where they're all just rabid and evil anyway.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Apart from the Daily Mail commentators. And even then, when you look in the comments, people are the tide is still turning. It's small compared to what it was. But at least now you're getting more people coming out saying, nah, don't believe that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not, there's people who are starting to question, Kate, lifesaver, really? There are people who are, people are waking up. So now that they're saying, like you say, they're saying the quiet bits out loud. What you're getting now is the newspapers are starting to turn, because now they realize, hold on a minute, maybe there's more money in starting to, expose the truth.
Yes.
Or expose more of what they know. I mean, when was the last time we saw a packed picture, seriously, of William with anyone, much less a blonde woman in a car?
Yeah.
Right. But it's true. We don't see packed pictures, But they are there to kind of make you think, what's going on there then? So where's Kate? He's coming out of a club at 2:00 in the morning with some blonde woman and his bodyguard. Really?
Yeah. Who's that then?
Yeah. Who's that then?
But I mean, but it's also like slightly off topic, but the same sort of thing about how the narrative is beginning to change. I was at work and someone said to me, "Oh, I was thinking about you the other day," and I went, "Why? What's going on there?" And so she goes, "Yes, because the Queen didn't turn up at the the cenotaph, and there's rumors going around that she had moved off this mortal coil. And I went, oh, all right. So what's that got to do with me? She says, well, I thought you'd know about it because you're a royalist. I went, let me stop you there. I said, I am not a royalist. I have never been a royalist. I actually said, I don't give a fuck about the royal family, to be honest. I said, but I do support Meghan and Harry because I don't like injustice. And I don't like how she has been treated. And I don't like how he's been treated. So then she went to me, oh, but how can you support Harry when he's writing a book? And I went, yeah, so they all write books. Yes, but he's writing a book about, it's going to slag off Charles. I said, well, Charles did the same thing. He wrote a book in 1994 or whatever, six or whatever it was. I said, where he basically said that the Queen and Prince Philip were crap parents and didn't do anything for him. And I think in that same book, he admitted adultery, allegedly. I said, so what's the difference? She went, I didn't know about that. And just shut up. So it's about the narratives, like you say, the narratives are changing because this is what she was, like you said last week, she was a mouthpiece for the Daily Mail. She was a Daily Mail headline. And when I dropped some facts on her, she had nothing to say.
And that's the thing.
Yes.
But that is the thing, isn't it? They never have any, all they have is the headline. Headlines are designed to be sensationalist. They're not informational and they're not educational. They are sensationalism. That is the purpose of a headline. Okay, we don't write headlines. I'm a copywriter, and we don't write headlines that are going to say, "Oh, Meghan appeared on Ellen. It was a great performance from her, and it was really lovely to see her, as her old self." Even a positive headline is going to be Meghan's sensational appearance on Ellen. It's going to be big letters. Because it's designed to bring the reader in. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So when people then start spouting to the headline, all they've done is read the headline. They don't know the substance. There's no substance. That's why they can't argue back.
Yeah, and this is my whole point about how her narrative has been set about Meghan and Harry, and how this program basically exposed what was going on and said it was, and like we've all said, after they did the Australia, New Zealand and Tonga tour, they saw how brilliant they were at their job, especially how she was so good at her job, how she was a natural self. It all changed because they're jealous. Yeah. She was a natural. She was a natural at that job, and they were jealous because they had to up their game.
Yeah,
they had to. They can't cope with it.
Can I also just interject that with regards to that Australia trip? Remember what happened just before they touched down in Australia? It was announced that she was pregnant.
Yeah,
so that was just the cherry on top, because I doubt anyone in that family expected her to get pregnant that quickly as well. So
no, they didn't. They thought she was an old hag, didn't they?
Yeah,
why not?
They did.
This is my
that's
thing.
The reason why
they don't seem to understand. Oh, that sounds very.
They're short-sighted, though.
Yes.
What you have to remember is they're very, very short-sighted. Their only modus operandi is to protect the heir to the throne. That's it. Anyone else is collateral damage. So Charles has a lot of protection. I mean, who saw the headline? I know we're running out of time, but really, who saw the headline this week? I think it was yesterday in the Fail, saying that how Diana cheated first.
Come on!
Diana cheated. But they've forgotten their own narrative, right? Because Diana was a 19-year-old virgin when she married Charles.
Exactly.
She cheated with who? He was already running around with Camilla by then. But before the night before their wedding, he was with Camilla. So tell me how and when did Diana have the opportunity to cheat first, even if you were to try and believe that headline?
It's ridiculous.
So, and but that's the royal family. They forget they're very short-sighted, and they forget their own narrative. So we've got Straight Outta Compton was one headline, and now
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
carry on.
And then we had when she spoke about her upbringing, what was that on again? When she mentioned about the fact, when she was campaigning for equal, for paid parental leave, and she spoke about her upbringing. Now all of a sudden she's this middle class princess who wanted for nothing. But I thought she was straight out of Compton.
Yeah.
Let's make our minds up here.
Yeah. And also, they pointed out that where she actually was brought up was like 20 minutes away from Compton. But it's close enough for this lot. It's like saying,
exactly.
It's like saying that someone comes from, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a place, Rickmansworth. It's like saying someone was born and brought up in Rickmansworth. It's West London people, Northwest London, but saying they're just around the corner from Shepherd's Bush, which is not bad because Shepherd's Bush is actually quite nice. But do you know what I mean? It's miles away from each other. It takes at least 20 minutes in the car to get from one place to the other. But it's like saying that to people. And if you don't know, you think, oh, it's probably just across the road. They're miles away from each other.
But we see that in evidence right now. People denigrate her and Harry for their LA lifestyle. They live in Montecito. Do you know how far Montecito is from LA?
Exactly.
It's what, 90 minutes? It's
2 hours. 2 hours.
That's like calling me a brummie. I live in London. I'm 2 hours away.
But it isn't. But what I also thought was very interesting, that whole interview, was that woman, that CT. That's all I'm going to call her. I'm not even going to call her name. CT, claiming that when she wrote the story about Meghan, race was the first thing from her mind, and she wrote in about her ancestry about 4 paragraphs in. Why do you need to do that? Why did you need to put it in? And it wasn't racism at all. And I actually, when I watched it, shouted out "liar." That's right.
So did I.
Two lies. Sort of thing.
So did I.
I had eyes after that.
Look, I had no intention of watching that documentary. Right, none. And it was only after I saw the commentary on social media, I thought, okay. So I actually watched it at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I thought, okay, let me watch this and find out. And when I heard her comments, it was, like I said, it was 1 o'clock in the morning when I started watching it. So hours in the morning. It's a good thing to I live on my own, I tell you, because I burst out laughing. I burst out laughing when I heard her comments. I just thought, and she's sitting there with a straight face as well.
Exactly. The barefaceness of it.
Exactly, the bare face. I thought she's actually sitting there. Anyone that doesn't know is going to watch this and think that woman is telling the absolute truth.
Oh my! I was like, oh my! It was ridiculous. I just shouted it out. I was like, what is going on? Honestly. And then you got the other one moaning. Oh, well, the problem is that Harry never introduced her to us.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? So you're going to write vitriol about the woman because he never introduced you to you, and she had no intention of talking to you. You're journalists. You know your place.
Exactly, but not only that. People have to remember, and I think sometimes, it gets a bit twisted. Meghan's not British. Meghan wasn't, it's not even like she spent loads of time here. Yes, she visited here, but she wasn't living here when she met Harry. She's a woman from a very different culture and a different country. And I hate when the one thing that really winds me up is when people say we welcomed her with open arms.
Don't get me flipping started.
Who welcomed her with open arms?
It wasn't the press.
Maybe the person on the street probably thought, which is why they had such a huge attendance at their wedding. But as a country, we did not welcome her with open arms. The media most
certainly didn't.
The media did not welcome that woman with open arms. And you know what? And it gets me really upset when I think about it, because we talk about people like us. We're in the bubble. We talk about Meghan and Harry, and we're very aware of what's going on. We have our ears very close to the ground, so we're almost like in that Sussex bubble, and by default, the royal family as well, because we have to keep an eye on them to make sure that they're not stepping out of line with our girl, right? But there are so many people who aren't. They've got no idea, the real nuances that go on you know, the microaggressions that we've all witnessed.
Yes.
And, you know, and this is why I say, when people say, oh, we welcomed her with open arms, no, you did not. We didn't welcome her with open arms. I'm sorry. And it upsets me, because the more that comes out, especially through this court case and reading the court papers and them being more of themselves now and being more and more out there, we get a real feel of who they are. The more I see and hear, it just absolutely saddens me, because I know they did something to that woman. We've all been there. We know what it's like to be the only black person in a room, right?
Yep.
We know, unfortunately, we do know. And I can only imagine what they did and said to that woman to drive her to forget them. The media has been horrendous, right? But you then have no sanctuary, because the very people who you think are going to be your new family and welcome you and protect you and really help to indoctrinate you into how they do things are basically the same ones who are, like I said, that is that twisting the knife in your back narrative we spoke about earlier on, you know. And the thing is, the worst thing about this is that none of this is new news. We saw it with Diana. Diana told us in her own words that they did the same thing to her, however many 30 odd years ago, right?
Yeah.
40, nearly 40 years ago. Sarah Ferguson, no matter what you think of her, she told us as well. She told us how they treated her. You know, poor Sarah's got far too many skeletons in her cupboard. She can't leave. Right?
Exactly.
She's divorced and she can't leave. Right.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that unfortunately, that's the bed she's made. But the thing is that they did something happened to that woman. I'm telling you, within their walls. And it's that they are desperate to hide from the public. And that's why they're chasing the media around, wanting to have editorial control, having meetings upon. Do you know how many meetings they had before that program had even been aired?
No, I have no idea.
Senior royal officials were meeting with the BBC for weeks before that program was even on the schedule.
Wow.
Before it was even on the schedule. So before we even knew it was coming, they were, and then to have this joint statement. Look, I've been around this world too long, right, to know that doesn't happen. So what the hell are they trying to hide? What are they trying to hide?
That's the interesting bit.
Yeah, can I also say, can we also lay this whole this mantra of never explain, never complain, never explain thing to bed as well, because they do complain. They complained about that article in Tatler about Kate that was unflattering to Kate, and you can't find that anywhere now.
But left in the lie about Meghan. Remember the lie about Meghan making her cry, which we now again know was not true. They left that bit in though.
And guess who was? And the author of that article was in that. It was in that interview.
That's right, Anna. It was Anna Pasternak, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're all in there. As I said, they all said the quiet bit out loud because they clearly felt comfortable. He was one of them, and they thought they could run their mouth and it will be all edited out. But now we get to see what's really going on. He has basically laid it out for us, as I said before, and said, look, this is what they say. This is what happens. I'm just giving it to you to make your own choice on what you believe and what you don't believe. Now, as I said, us in the Sussex squad, we've seen it. We knew it. We knew it was happening. That's why I thought it was very intriguing, because it was like, okay, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop now. When's the horrible bit going to come? But it wasn't. It was just fair and neutral. There were some bits that I thought he could have cleared up straight away. But he's left it out. Yeah, he's left it out there in the ether for people to. If you've got a curious mind, you will go and search. Yeah, but if you're filled with hate and whatever, you're going to go, oh, I believe it, sort of thing. But there was nothing there that was really horrible to both sides. It was just saying there's lots of leaks coming out of BP, KP, and CH, and they're all leaking against the against the Sussexes. My question is why? Why are you leaking against them? They're one of your own. What's going on? If you've got a critical mind, you'll be asking these sort of questions. But we don't here in the UK because we're all sheeple. They will, if you put it in the paper, it must be true. That was maybe the point 70 years ago. It ain't now. They have got their own legitimate bias for a reason. And I think that people need to start looking and asking the question, why? Why is that? You always ask why. When they give you an answer, you ask why. Why? And it comes back to the same point, my friends. It's because she's black, in it. Sorry. There you go.
Well, you can't argue with that.
No.
You can't argue with that. You know, people want to accuse us of playing the race card. Well, okay, show me the rest of your deck then. If I'm playing the race card, you show me the rest of your deck.
Yeah.
It's the only card we got in our deck.
It's only one. You know, and you know, the other thing is, it's very, very clear to anyone who's listening and watching that we have a real deficit of morality now in this country. We really do. And it comes right from the top. It really does. So you've got a government that is becoming more and more like 1930s Germany than any of us would care to admit. And now we have a royal family who are not only in bed with that government, but are now also working with, whether you like it or not, they are working with that government and the media to get us all to come around to their way of thinking. Right? That's basically what it is. And this is how it starts. And Harry and Meghan, unfortunately, are the real antithesis to that. You know, how, if you think about what we now know about Harry and Meghan in terms of their activities and their interests and their passions and just who they are at their core, how can they really live even without all the nastiness that's gone on over the past 5 years? What kind of existence would they have had in this institution that we now see before us, where we've got Andrew being accused of God knows what, you know, but no one's talking about him.
No, exactly.
No one's talking about him. You know, you've got cash for questions, you've got, you know, knighthoods for sale, you've got dodgy business dealings, you've got lobbying against climate change on the sly so that you're exempt. You know, how, knowing who Harry and Meghan are, how would they have existed and brought children up within that environment? It was never going to work.
Yeah, you said it. And I think we should look back to Sophie and Edward back in the day when they were supposed to be running their business. Their whatever, I don't know what they're running, some sort of company.
Wasn't
it
a production company?
The productions. It was a production company, wasn't it? Yeah.
He had his company and she had her company. She was doing PR or something.
Yeah, she was doing PR.
And it was around the time of, when was it? It was some scandal must have been happening. Anyway, she put her foot in it by getting caught by a News of the World reporter and saying whatever she said.
She was chatting shit on the royal family.
Yeah, right. And so it all blew up and they hung her out to dry. Have a look around that time and see what scandal was going on. Right? Because they hung her out to dry.
They did. I can't remember what the scandal was.
What was the scandal? It was some sort of scandal around that time where it was deflected by her running her mouth to the News of the World by accident because she thought she was big and bad.
There was no accident. She just didn't realise who she was speaking to. Well, she said she said that with her chest.
Yeah, she did. What I'm saying is,
she said it with her whole chest.
She didn't realise that it was going to be dropped in the paper the way it was. She didn't think she was being set up. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
She was speaking to.
Yeah, that's what I mean by accident. Because if she knew who she was talking to, she wouldn't have run her mouth like that. But what I'm saying is,
say what goes on in the dark always comes to light.
Exactly. What I'm saying is, this family has no problem dropping the outsider in front, sacrificing the outsider for them. They sacrifice Sophie. She just happened to have the sense of her to think, you know what, I'll grovel, keep my mouth shut the business, and pretend to be a royal, you know, join the royal family and do me business or whatever, you know, my business, my outings, my royal duties. That's the word. Yeah, she had the sense to actually pivot very quickly and fall in with the family. But they do it to every single one of them. And you said it, Gayle. They did it to Diana. They did it to Sarah Ferguson. They did it to her. They're doing it to Meghan. Meghan had the sense.
And-
Meghan and Harry had the sense to leave.
Right, and they did it to Kate. So look at the real qualities of those women. Diana was like, hell no, I'm out of here, right? You know,
Yeah.
put it this way: even if Diana had stayed, which she didn't, but she was not going to let that affair go without it being exposed, right?
Yeah.
Diana made sure that people knew. That's why she cooperated with Andrew Morton. That people knew what it was really like being a princess. Okay, so Diana wasn't putting up with it. Sarah, at first, we thought wasn't putting up with it, but unfortunately, she got herself in some bother, and she needed them to bail her out, and now she's forever in their debt. Okay, Sophie, shut up and put up. Kate, shut up and put up. I mean, the human side of me looks at her sometimes and think, you know, woman, speak up for yourself, do something. You know, why are your family letting you go through this? That's the human side of me. But then, you know, the other side of me, you know, turns around and says, well, you made your bed.
You got to lie in it.
You made your bed, love, you know, because you've had opportunity to speak out and you've chosen not to. You know, she has no fight in her. That's my thing with Kate. You know, as a woman and as a person, she just has no fight in her in my world, and that's the thing I don't really like. You know, I think as women we need to be able to stand up for ourselves if nobody else. You know,
we do, but it suits her not to stand up and fight for herself, because she fights back, she's out.
She knows it. And this is what I'm saying. She knows she's out. So the crown is more important to her than her own self-worth and self-esteem.
Exactly.
Meghan, however, was like, oh hell no. Look, Meghan didn't even give them time. She didn't even give them time. She was there a few years and she said, not me and my kids, love. Right. Yeah. And thankfully, Harry was the one, and not mine either. You know, I've been dying to get out for years. Come.
Let's go.
Right. Let's go. Off. And off they went. But that's because their sanity, their well-being is much more important to them than the bloody crown. And
amen.
Yeah.
You know, we can't argue with that.
No, and they've proved it to everybody that they have the skills to survive outside of the family. You know, they've done it. You know, they've got they found their business, they've got their contacts, and they use them well to create a life for themselves outside of it. And the other ones in the royal family can do it, but this lot are too scared. Useless. So there you go.
And there you have it.
So anyhow, oh my God, we've gone over again. That's a good conversation. It's been a really good conversation. So, okay, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Gayle and Nelly for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Don't forget to send in your questions and or topics that you'd like to have discussed in future episodes. If you'd like to be a guest panelist on the podcast, please reach out to me at hello@duchesslikeus.com on email, or DM me at duchessus on Twitter. If you like what you've heard today, please hit the like and subscribe button for the podcast. And also, please share this episode with anyone else you think would be interested in listening to this. If you have time, I'm grateful if you could leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps more people see and hear the podcast. I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode and that you'll come back for more. So I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.